So first of all, welcome to the INCOSE International Women's Day. We celebrate women worldwide social, cultural, economic, and political achievements. And this year, the theme of this event is Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. It is essential, from my point of view, to create innovation and improvements in our sociocultural environment and continue working for the progress that we made toward the women's empowerment and the gender equality. And on this occasion, INCOSE and EWSLE is hosting a virtual event across the 3 sectors. That's really interesting and impressive. And our case, Sector 2, EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, in our case. So welcome to this event. And we must create and imagine, as you have here, a world with diversity, equity, and inclusion for all of us. And indeed, we must embrace the idea, and we will be embracing a better world. In the EMEA sector, we are also creating a mentoring program between member states and chapters for women and early career members to help them empower, guide, and inspire them for the future to come. Also participating in programs where STEM or STEM supporting activities or promoting them as part of the chapter's efforts that we are trying to have in the EMEA sector. And with no more delay, I want to introduce you the INCOSE representatives for this event. Marily, I think you already know, the president of INCOSE. Alice, the founder of the Empowering Women Leaders in Systems Engineering. We need her for a lot of things to continue working on the working group. Sven Olaf, the EMEA Sector Director, and Maria, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Associate Director. So thank you so much for being here and supporting the event. Marily, the floor is yours.
Very good, thanks, Annabelle. Really glad to be here. I'm just so excited that EWSLE is sponsoring this across all 3 sectors, and with our sector, the directors, including the sector directors from each of the sectors, as well as including the EWSLE leads from each sector. And I think it really demonstrates very clearly the global nature that we have in INCOSE, and that's one of the things that I am most proud of, is our global nature and how we truly are an international organization, you know, sharing our expertise and experience in systems engineering and really trying to make a better world through a systems approach. So again, very excited to be here and participate in this hosted International Women's Day celebration. One of the things I wanted to mention about INCOSE is, I think back, go back one, please, first. It's kind of my personal experience when I joined in 2002. Of course, I was aware of INCOSE ever since it started, because aerospace has been a long time participant. We had someone from aerospace that was the conference chair when the conference was held in LA, for example. So I was quite aware of INCOSE, you know, from the beginning, but I actually ended up joining in 2002. And one of the things that I really experienced with INCOSE, to me, was very much how accepting it seemed to me, and how I could, you know, be accepted in this community of systems engineering, and, you know, be seen and be heard, and, you know, bring my authentic self. I've always felt that way. And I also, in joining INCOSE, I really realized it was quite different than some of the other technical societies I belong to, because there really was, you know, a greater gender diversity in terms of people that were leading, you know, in leadership positions, whether it's the board, the working groups, the committees, you know, attending the events. You know, it was really very gratifying to see the gender diversity. So I always felt very very welcome. And again, I felt like I really could be my authentic self, which is what we hope that everybody from a DEI perspective can do when they come to, whether it's at work or any activity they're involved in. So I really actually am very proud of INCOSE, and I'm also proud that in the last just over a year ago that we've really been refocusing on our initiatives for DEI. And as as good as what we have been able to do, there always is room for improvement. So very glad that we have a policy now on diversity, equity, inclusion, that we have a advisory committee set up, that we have this new role, and Maria will be talking to you soon about that, but being the associate director for DEI. So I'm just really proud of kind of the additional steps we're taking to ensure that INCOSE always is the place that people feel very comfortable coming, participating in. And that's of course what we want it to be. So that's kind of my personal reflection on INCOSE, and I hope that all of you also feel that way. But certainly if there were any concerns about that, Maria is always open for dialogue of any way in which we could improve. So next slide, please. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our new book, because it does really represent the best of women leadership, and in recognition of the fact that it's International Women's Day today. Our book that just came out last fall, which really was an ELSE project. It was brought to ELSE as a project, and definitely was a labor of love. The Springer Women in Engineering series, engineering and science, have books across all sorts of different domains, engineering and science, and they really didn't have one on systems engineering. So we had proposed this to the editors, and we were very glad when they accepted it. And we're even more excited now that the book is out. And again, the book really represents this global strength, and of course, the strength of women leaders, because we have 26 women leaders who are authors of the various chapters. In fact, Alice Squires, who's online and you'll hear from next, is of course one of the co-editors. We have Annabelle and Elena, who are chapter authors that I see online. And so we're very excited because it does represent that global view, and also I think it talks to the emerging trends, and not just from a technical nature, but all the soft skills that you need really to be a technical leader, which quite honestly I feel that women really do have a lot of very strong skill set in that area. So if we go to the next slide, I just want to remind folks and to alert folks to the fact of what is in our table of contents. So you see across our 12 chapters, a lot of things related to the soft skills, the essential skills that are needed for being a technical leader. I personally believe that the systems engineering domain is the perfect skill set for being a technical leader in a particular domain, because of our holistic look at things, because of our systems perspective, the wide view that we take. So I do think there's just a really natural pathway to be a technical leader within systems engineering, just because of the way we think and act. We have a couple chapters on DEI. We talk about certain leadership facets, and then we do also talk to technological change. So I think it's really interesting that part of the theme this year for International Women's Day is this DigiAll, and really talking about the digital transformation. And certainly we talk about this in the chapter that Elena co-did with Freda, which is a really great chapter addition to the book, talking about the digital transformation. And then in addition, as you all probably know, INCOSE really is on that journey, both in terms of our working groups that are helping organizations, on their digital transformation, whether it be through model-based MBSE or digital engineering information exchange, but also just internally, our processes and operations that we do. We're really looking within. We're actually doing modeling of those processes using a system descriptive model, and we're really trying to identify ways in which we can be more efficient and more effective, and certainly digitizing where we can to help streamline workflows and that type of thing. So again, I think the themes of International Women's Day are just very strongly aligned with INCOSE and our goals, and I'm really very excited to be participating here and to provide this welcome and to give a little bit of information about this new book that we're very excited about. So I'm going to turn it over next to Alice, who's going to talk a bit more about both EWSLE as well as the importance of equity. So over to you, Alice. Oh, one final thing, we put in this slide that Eric Specking had put together, but it's really nice. Springer actually has a blog for International Women's Day, and you see right there, for example, Alice Squires is one of the folks that put an input into this blog, but certainly go ahead and read all of these elements. There's the link there. The first picture you see there, Jill Tejan, she's actually the overall editor of this series, Women in Engineering and Science. I know her through SWE, and that's how I heard about this opportunity to do the book. But she is an amazing woman leader, a past president of the National SWE organization, but also very active in ensuring women get recognized through the National Women's Hall of Fame, for example. She writes a lot of nominations to ensure that women are not forgotten, and she's got a book called Herstory that really talks about all the great women leaders, to the beginning of time. So just a really very interesting and passionate when it comes to documenting the achievements and recognitions of women. So that's Jill, and we're really glad she did accept our proposal and that Springer did for our book. So over to you, Alice.
Thank you so much, Marilee. And also Annabelle, thank you for your introduction. And what I want to talk to you about right now is I want to talk to you a little bit about empowering women leaders in systems engineering, but also I want to talk about embracing equity in leadership. So, in support of our theme today of digital innovation and technology and embrace race equity. So next, ELSI was created to support the vision of a world where women and men are equally represented as leaders in systems engineering. So, roughly half men, half women represented as leaders. And it was created at a time in INCOSE where we definitely had women in leadership positions on the board, but not so much in the technical areas. Whereas today, if you take a look, you'll see that the whole landscape has changed. So this was almost a decade ago that we started working on this idea, and then we stood ELSI up at the International Workshop in 2015. And so we've been working on a lot of initiatives, raising awareness, publications since then, and all in support of a better world through a systems approach, which is INCOSE's vision. Next. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about some events in the future that we have planned for this year. First of all, thanks to Stuti Gupta for putting together these International Women's Day seminars. We've got 3 systems engineering conferences where we'll have an ELSI presence. We've got EMEA in April in Sevilla, Spain. We have the INCOSE International Symposium in Hawaii in the USA in July. And we have the AOSEC in Bangalore, India in the fall. And all of these you can expect to see some ELSI presence, as well as at the Society of Women Engineers annual conference that also takes place in the fall, and that's in California, USA. So those are the events we've got going on beyond this one today. Next slide. And then in addition to the book that Marilee talks about, and we have more authors on the line, we've got Ananga, who is going to be speaking about maybe 6.5 hours from now at our at another International Women's Day seminar. We've also got Marilee and myself are authors, as well as Studi Gupta, and then of course Elena and Annabelle that were already mentioned. So all of us were part of those 26 women authors. And then we've got some other publications that we've been a part of, Women in Engineering, IEEE, Frontiers in Industrial and Systems Engineering. We have a chapter in that book. But more recently, we've got the Diversity in Systems Engineering INCOSE Insight magazine, which was a themed edition in the fall of 2019 that won the Best Editor Theme Award from INCOSE. And then really recently are the Letters to My Younger Self, 25 letters from men and women of INCOSE that talk about their engineering journey, and they're targeted toward the younger generation, these letters. And this publication is available publicly for free to share with, your students, high school, middle school, even college. And you can get to it by going to incose.org/LTMYS, which are the letters of the title, Letters to My Younger Self, LTMYS. So I encourage you to check that out. Now I want to talk a little bit about my topic today. This idea of equity in leadership and what happens when we undervalue women, just a tiny bit, maybe through small biases or microaggressions, and some examples that are shown in research where, and I'm not going to go through all these, but I'll call out a couple of them, where perhaps women are penalized for behaviors that men are not penalized for, where a woman's potential might be under-recognized compared to a man's, or you get other people siphon off credit for women's work. Next slide. And so those are some ways that women might become undervalued. And so I wanted to share this model with you that Jessica Nordell put together with Kenny Joseph and Yuha Du. And what this model does is it just shows what happens if you undervalue women only by 3%. And it's a New York Times article. You can access it at that link, and it runs a computer simulation, and it runs this computer simulation over a 10-year period. So let's take a look at that. So here's the simulation at the beginning. Now, this is at the end of 1 year, but you can see down at the bottom where you see the level 1 through 8 graphs down at the very bottom of the slide. What you see there is you see a graph of 50% women, 50% men, roughly. So they start the model off with 50% men and 50% women at every level of an organization, which they call Norm Corp. So they've got this organization that they're now going to simulate what happens when you undervalue. And so really you could just, it could be any two categories of people. What happens when you undervalue one 3% as compared to the other? And so you can see after 1 year, everything looks pretty much like there's still 50% in our case, men and women at every level. But if you look at level 8, which is in the upper right hand corner with the circle, you see a couple more dots going into that circle from the men's group, but not from the women's group. So you see, well, maybe there's something happening at that upper level. You can't really be sure yet. We've only simulated 1 year. So let's fast forward to the 5-year mark. Now we've simulated this undervaluing for 5 years, and we start to see level 1, 2, 3, they're still, roughly 50-50, but we start to see discrepancies from level 4 and definitely up through level 8. And then one more slide. And then by the time we get to 10 years, we sort of see an effect that we've witnessed and it has been researched quite extensively, and that is the funneling effect of women from entry-level positions into executive-level positions. In other words, it's a funnel. It starts out broad and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so this shows just undervaluing one group by just a tiny bit can result in this funneling effect. So when we talk about equity, what we're talking about, we're not talking about starting out equally, like as we did here. We're talking about equal outcomes. So we're talking about ending up with equal outcomes. And in this case, we see with just, minor undervaluing of one group, we do not achieve equity across the board at all levels of the organization, but especially at the top leadership levels of the organization. That's about it for me today. Thank you. I think I'm handing it over to Sven, maybe?
Sven Olaf, yes. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Alice and Marie-Lee. Now, Sven Olaf, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. I'm a little bit surprised. But I think, as shown or mentioned before, I think there's, on my side as a man, nothing to add. So I'm happy that what Alicia and Mary-Lee presented and also you presented are, let's say, something I want to, let's say, support and let's say, hope that we can increase the percentage and all the other topics here. So therefore, I'm happy to join and I'm invited here to listen. And so something nothing to add anymore. I think it's a very good initiative and nothing to add, I think.
Thank you, Sven Olaf. And I would like to add something to what you said, is that I am happy to have you on board for EMEA because you support EWSLE and all the initiatives that we have a lot. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thanks. You're welcome. So it's one of my basics, or I'd say one of our vision and mission also in the EMEA sector.
Yeah, thank you so much. So now, Maria, the floor is yours. Maria, can you hear us? I don't know if there is. And maybe if you can type of the chat, if you can hear us well, because we cannot hear you.
I see she's logged in, but I don't see audio on her connection.
No. She's connected, but without audio. No, on the chat is nothing else on the chat. I don't have the recorded audio that she sent. I don't know if Tweety, you have it?
Yes.
You have it? Yeah.
Yes, I can play it. No problem. Just give me a second.
I will stop sharing.
Yes.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. My name is Maria Romero, and I'm Associate Director of DEI for INCOSE. I am here to talk to you about the importance of DEI, but especially integrating DEI in the workplace. So, why do we care so much about DEI in the workplace? And why should we care? Is it simply the right thing to do, or are there business gains associated with diversity? It's actually both. When you try to build diverse teams, you fight discrimination in the workplace. You aim to give equal opportunities to all employees, even those, or especially those in underrepresented groups. Data shows that diversity is good for business. Diversity is good for business when the organization knows how to truly embrace, value, and make use of diversity in its leadership and workforce. Why? Because when managers and leaders know how to draw out diverse perspectives, build on them, and be inclusive of all the perspectives available on their teams, they get better ideas, question assumptions, identify blind spots, develop new approaches, and create better solutions. As a result, they see massive team innovation, performance, and growth. Along with diversity, there's diversity of thought. Diversity of thought is just as important as it refers to a range of mindsets, perspectives, and thought processes that are found within an organization's workforce. In many ways, diversity of thought is the result of a strong diversity and inclusion strategy. This is because existing diversity in areas like gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic backgrounds, disability, and mental health naturally broadens the range of perspectives within an organization. However, too many times, organizations miss this and decide to only include mindsets that are similar to theirs, causing the importance of diversity of thought to be lost, as well as the strength of different perspectives to be forgotten or to be sidelined. If you want your employees to think differently, they need to be constantly looking to improve themselves and bring the best version of themselves to work each day. If your employees are stressed, tired, or struggling with something, it will have a negative impact on how they think and detract from their work. Encouraging your employees to focus on self-care and development is therefore essential and correlates directly with seeing positive results. So before you start encouraging your people to think differently, you must ensure that appropriate health and well-being support is in place. Your employees are full of ideas. Unfortunately, many of these go untapped. So when an employee comes to you with an idea that you think might work, go with it and see what happens. By taking your employees' ideas and turning them into reality, you show that you're listening and care about them. If an idea works out, great. If it doesn't, don't be too harsh. Taking risks is unavoidable when it comes to innovation, and employees will be reluctant to come to you with their ideas if others have been lambasted when theirs haven't worked. You can't build diverse teams, though, without pairing diversity with inclusion. Nor have you won if you now have a diverse team, because equity and inclusion are where the real work begins. Employees feel included in their workplace when they have equal opportunities during the entire employee life cycle, from the way they're treated during the hiring process to how they're being managed, trained, evaluated, and promoted. But this can't happen automatically. To build an inclusive workplace, employers must provide those equal opportunities to all potential and existing employees. They should also revisit and improve their procedures as needed to ensure they're respectful to all people regardless of protected characteristics. After speaking about the importance of diversity and inclusion in the workplace, I just want to stress the importance of this. Given the shrinking talent pool, it is critical for organizations to see the importance of this, because organizations are going to lose out on very talented employees who will be able to solve their more complex problems. And being able to solve your more complex problems will be able to create more profit and gain and growth. I am hoping this will help organizations and team leaders think twice before they start to disinclude employees from opportunities, because they will lose in the end and find limited employees willing to work with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tuti, for sharing the audio. And Maria, if you are listening, thank you so much for this speech. I think it's really encouraging what we have listened today. And I would like to thank you, Marily, to thank you, Alice, and to Sven Olaf, and Maria for the time being here and the engagement that you have participating in these events, and also for these empowering speeches that you have for us today. So without any more hesitation, I will share the screen. And I would like to present to you, to introduce our speaker for Sector 2 is Elena Gallego. She is an expert on engineering leadership for the development of complex solutions Elena is dedicated to translating business strategy into feasible engineering strategy, making an impact with disruptive thinking and innovation. She has built her experience in this area as a systems engineering manager at Thales for the complex development of the F-126 German frigate and the above water warfare solutions for the Dutch Navy programs. She's also a SEP and part of the TLI program, cohort 5. And more about that, she's also passionate about enabling others' growth. I can say that's fully true. And she's an active mentor of leaders at INCOSE TLI, and also has, additionally, numerous research publications and books related to engineering conference. So Elena, we're delighted to have you here today. And please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Annabelle. Thank you also.
Do you want me to stop sharing and you have slides?
I can share my slides indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and hopefully it will work well.
Yeah. Perfect. Yes, perfect.
Very good. Well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me and being here today. I'm really pleased to contribute not only to the conversation and to share what my experiences are, but also to have the opportunity to be together with you, also because I can really say how much effort you are making within the, not only within the systems engineering community, but really within the whole engineering society to get more visibility to the effort that many women are making. So thank you very much for that as well. I'm also very happy to see some of the people amongst the participants. So, well, let me just jump in the presentation. I will, well, sorry, let me go one step back to tell you about what I'm going to talk. The viewpoint that I want to bring today is to see how the engineering transformation that we are talking about in so many different organizations and projects actually requires diversity and inclusion to be able to cope with the complexity that the new technology is bringing to us. So during the conversation today, I want to bring you some experiences on how the complex systems that we develop are increasing in complexity, and also how important diversity is if we want to manage that complexity. Because where we see that most of the value on the relationships that we have at work and with other organizations normally rely on cross-cutting or transversal teams that are not just in our close circle. And I think that relates a little bit on what was said before about the unconscious or sometimes conscious biases that we have. So just briefly to introduce myself, indeed I'm a system engineering manager at the moment for the frigate F-126 for the German Navy. Is the largest project at the moment of Thales, and is one of the biggest defense programs at the moment in the European procurement environment. My role as a system engineering manager is to make sure that all the processes, practices, and tools for doing the complete engineering lifecycle are in place, and then I make sure that we manage the complete engineering of the solution. Beyond that, I have some involvement to improve the discipline on requirements engineering. Also, there is where I participate within INCOSE in some of the working groups for requirements, MBSE, and architecting. About INCOSE, indeed, as Annabelle introduced, I'm a mentor within the INCOSE TLI, Technical Institute for the Technical Leadership Institute. And also just to mention some more of me, I have some hobbies like rowing, and I also enjoy swimming, and of course, as Spaniard, the food and the wine is quite nice. I want to talk to you about the increasingly complex solutions that we have, and that is where we see that we are getting more complexity, not only on the systems because of the technology that it comes, but also in the way the systems we produce, operate, and develop the different missions. In the case of a frigate, they have different type of missions, therefore requiring different capabilities. And for that, all the technology and the products that we developed need to be parallelized. What does this mean? And I think maybe you see it, the title. What it means is that this increasing complexity requires diversity in the sense that we need to deal with more complex organization structures. So the whole environment where we have to develop these systems is becoming more interdependent. The technology is evolving much faster, but also that makes an increase on the number of elements that we need to interconnect, more cross-functional management. So we don't only rely upon our direct teams or direct colleagues, but we have to cooperate and collaborate with people and organizations who have a very different background, who are working in different teams, even many times remotely in different countries. That also means that we have to be more efficient in the way we share and manage our knowledge. And this is also another of the points where diversity is so important, not only in gender diversity, but also for the complete inclusion of all the different type of people, to secure that the access to data, to information can be done by everyone from everywhere at the same time. That means that at that time we can do more concurrent engineering and co-development, so we can really be more effective and efficient in the way we translate from our system engineering to software engineering and then develop our products. If we want to meet all these needs from the engineering transformation that we are making, it means that we have to improve affordability, agility, the quality and efficiency. And for that, diverse teams perform better. So in the end, when we talk about diversity, sometimes I think that the strength of the need becomes a little bit diluted by these unconscious biases. But in fact, what happens is that diversity is not only a matter of being inclusive, or is really a matter of being better, to come up with better solutions, to come up with more effective ways to solve the problems of today without having yet the answers for the problems for tomorrow. There is a very interesting report that I recommend to read from McKinsey & Company. It's about diversity wins and how inclusion matters. It shows very well how those companies that have a better or more diverse teams actually perform much better in their yearly results. Having said that, it means that what do we then need to do, and how do these demands to the increasingly complex solutions need to be managed from the organizations in order to make it happen? Well, transformation, first of all, builds upon the current corporate infrastructure. It means that we have to innovate, but also we have to do it from what we have now. It means that we need to evolve the way our business models are defined, the skill sets that are required from the different members in our organization. Very importantly as well is the organizational culture and how the inherited and acquired diversity play a role in this transformation. Because once we are able to evolve those behaviors, then we can start gaining more experience in how to manage data, how to share knowledge, how to do better systems engineering, and ultimately have a more collaborative and a better communication within our organization. So having said that, what are the objectives that we need to meet in order to make this happen? The engineering transformation, first of all, needs to have realistic objectives that can be done by the engineering community that we have in our organizations at the moment. It means that from the hard skills perspective, we need to standardize the system engineering and the company good workmanship, but also we need to facilitate the cross-functional management. We need to bring everyone together, everyone to have a common methodology, to allow all the different viewpoints and the different backgrounds from our people together. There was also a very interesting article from HBR talking about when we are trying to manage when we communicate in our teams, and I would like you to also think about this. What is perhaps what would happen to you the first thing? Would you go and ask someone who is from a different team, a different discipline, across the border in another site, even in another company sometimes? Would you go to someone who is outside your direct lines of reporting, like in your vertical communication to your manager and to your team, or would you go to these other teams? What is surprising is that we tend to go always vertical. We tend to, in the first place, talk to the people who is always next to us. And surprisingly, again, the most of the value that is added to the solutions we have, or to even to the management, is not in the vertical line, but is really in the horizontal line. It means that we will gain much more value when we cooperate, for example, from engineering, but also with procurement, with legal, with finance. When we together are able to cope with the solution and to cope with the problems, it's probably going to be a better output than if we focus on our vertical lines. Also, what is another important objective is to have ecosystems where we can manage and have interactive data from engineering community to facilitate knowledge capitalization, management, and sharing. Diversity is also about sharing the knowledge and sharing about the experiences, and that we need to also be helped by the technology on how to better build this sort of ecosystems where we can reach data and everyone can access that data and not without any bias, let's say. Also, well, another objective is to align what the product features and the services from the value chain. So to maximize all the opportunities for reuse, but also to have a more operational efficiencies. Having said that, I want to bring all these examples to the F126 project. So I want to share my own experience managing this type of complexity from the technical perspective. What does it mean with the teams and the people we have? So having said all those objectives and what we want to reach with the engineering transformation in this project, as I mentioned before, is the largest project of Thales at the moment and one of the largest defense programs. There we have to manage more than 10,000 system interfaces. We have about 1,700 person year in the teams to make it happen. And we have more than 10 nationalities, which is actually a very nice number, in the sense that we are working here from the Netherlands, and we have teams remotely located in other countries in Europe, and people coming from other nationalities as well. And when we look at this from nationality and cultural background perspective, it's a good balance. When we look to the female contributors, then we see that the figures that also Alice was presenting earlier from those simulations, those are quite, those we can see as here as well. We have a 10% female contributors from the whole team that is working in this project at the moment. And that is where we see the need to also, the need for diversity, the need to really improve on that when we want to achieve the complexity as this type of programs have. Next to that, I want to say a few things also on how from Thales my experience has been from the project and how the Thales is actually promoting the diversity. I think what I feel since I joined here is that maybe it's also related to the Dutch culture, but it's a quite open environment. But still, there are things, and I think here is precisely because of all these unconscious biases, we still need to accelerate the recruitment of women. When I get CVs or interviews planned to meet new colleagues, potential new colleagues, most of the cases are still men. So really the whole diversity starts at the very beginning of the whole process, from the recruitment until the whole life cycle of the employee, as Maria also mentioned during her speech. Promoting women to higher level of responsibility, that is also something that Thales is committed to and trying to improve also the indicators there. Increasing the representation of women in all management committees. And there is also a very good initiative as well that is called the Stop E initiative. And it's about the Stop Everyday Sexism at Work, and which is an initiative alongside many other companies. But there are sometimes these really small things that surprisingly still happen in the workplace. At the moment, about 70% of the management committees, including at least 3 women in 2021, and the target is to have it by 75% by the end of 23. And then when we look at the group's most senior positions held by women, it's roughly 19%, and only an increase of 1% targeted by the end of the year. Well, with these numbers, at least what I think is that, first of all, we need to change the organizational composition. And the reason to do that is because if we want to do innovative, complex systems, then we need to work across nations, to have interfaces between different offices and organizations, and also integrate across disciplines and practices. When we have well-managed diverse teams, increasing the viewpoints and improve the decision-making and problem-solving. This is paramount if we want to really achieve these bigger challenges that technology is also presenting to us. And therefore, what do we need to change then? Well, we need to focus on those activities that will actually help us to facilitate the interface and integration across different nations, across different cultures and organizations. So in the end, that will also help us to maximize the opportunities for business development and innovation. When we cultivate an international mindset, then encourage unbiased questions that invite others' viewpoints and broaden employees' vision to include more distant networks. This is also very important to get the network outside our vertical view of or a cross-silo view. Having said this, I would like to conclude by saying that engineering transformation can be culturally disruptive, time-consuming, and resource-intensive. And that's why diversity is so important to have a business success. And this is what the message that we also need to bring within our organizations to ultimately make it happen. So with this, thank you very much. Yeah, that was it for me. If you have any questions, I would be pleased then to answer.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you so much for the presentation. I like it and enjoy it a lot. I like that the report you mentioned about affordability, quality, agility, and efficiency. Innovative with the diverse team. That's exciting. I will read it. I haven't read that yet. I will read it definitely. And I am surprised with the slide, by slide 9, that you mentioned all the commitments that your company is having right now. It's so inspiring and interesting. And I think a lot of organizations shall take that initiative as well for having that kind of proposals and commitments for women to be involved and to encourage and embrace diversity in the culture of the organization. I think that's really inspiring. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, because it's really empowering and inspiring, the talk that you just gave us. So please, if you have a doubt, or if you have any questions you want to, here we have Elena for us to know about the ideas or the proposals, commitments they have in Thales.
I have a question for you, Elena.
Yeah.
Can you, given the initiatives that your company's undertaking, can you think of a success story that maybe you could share with us?
Oh, that's a very good one. Well, actually, today I had one. Today we had, of course, there were some a town hall meeting that happens every month, and it happened today. So there was a very nice discussion also on a very simple thing. Here we work in the Netherlands. The headquarters are in Hengelo, which is a city on the east of the country. And the town halls normally happen in, or there's certain meetings that normally happen in Dutch. So then at some point it was, and what happened with all the foreigners, because it's a multinational company, we are many foreigners. As I mentioned, only in one project, we are 10 different nationalities. And most of us, we came here to work at Thales. So it's not a city that you would go and live if it weren't, in this case, because of the site of the company. And that was a very interesting debate, because then there is also a very large part of the organization who don't speak English. So then, because for me, diversity is not just about the gender, of course, that is very important today, but also it's about the culture, the language we speak, how do we share it? And then as a result, by having this type of events, the CEO, well, he's also part of these town halls, and it could be recognized how important it is then to make different, or to take different initiatives to also change that, to make sure that all the cultures or all the different gender is also involved, and we can make a step further to have a more diverse and inclusive organization in the end. There are a few other stories I could share as well, and in fact I also shared today with them in a network lunch we had about the initiative you are having in INCOSE, and in fact by having such a solid team within Thales who is working so focused on diversity and inclusion, then you can enable all these type of connections. So for example, someone mentioned it would be very interesting to connect at some point. So we can make a step further for the whole engineering community as such. So it's really important, I think, that every organization or every even institution like INCOSE follow this type of initiatives. Not just because of the day-to-day, it's many times about the perseverance and persistence to get sometimes small results, but every step counts. And that's something that we all can change if we are better connected and do it together.
Yes, thank you so much. And you know, INCOSE and systems engineers, we connect the dots, and why not connect the dots for diversity, equity, inclusion as well? So thanks for
Indeed.
that idea.
No, thank you. Thank you, Alice and Lena. More questions we have? Don't be shy. No more questions? No? No. Elena, thank you so much. Really, I enjoyed as I said, I enjoyed the presentation that you have done today as the invited speaker for this event. And let's move on then.
Thank you very much.
We encourage you, if you want to stay, that if you can stay, if the work allows you to, because now we are going to have some activity, a couple of minutes for an activity, and then the networking session. That will be really good if you can stay also with us. So now we would like to propose an activity, and after these empowering and inspiring talks, we want to share an exercise with you. Let's call that, we call it action card, and we hope it helps us to embrace equality. So I am sharing the card with you. You can take a picture or capture the image if you want. We will share it as soon as we have one link, because we're going to share it through the chat. But please just take a look at the 4 quadrants that we have here. And the idea is to think a bit about each of it, what it says. And we will have only 10 minutes for this, but it could be good to go. I suggest you to go guiding the exercise. So we go on the first quadrant to think about, write 2 ways that you will increase your knowledge about embracing equity this month. Which actions would you like to do to start with working, embracing equity? Can you name 2, 3? For instance, I can say, I will read the report suggested by Elena. That will help me a lot embracing equity, increasing my knowledge about that. Or you can read the book that we have in EWSLE, or the letters for my younger self. And this might be my 3 activities, my 3 actions maybe for this week, for this month to be done, for instance. If you can think, you can have it for yourself, or if you want to share it, please feel free to do that.
Are you wanting people to share what they might do, Annabelle?
If they want, that would be lovely, because we can enrich ourselves, all of us learning together, and maybe they have one source that we don't have, and we can learn together by diversity.
I'd really like to learn more about how the majority views DEI and their perspective, because it really requires collaboration to make this happen, and so that's something that I've been working on and want to continue to work on.
Oh, that's interesting, Alice. Thank you for sharing. Well, let's move on to the next quadrant. Find 2 people with whom you can share the passion and excitement that comes from valuing and supporting life differences. Find 2 people you can share that passion about diversity, about equity, about differences. Who might be those 2 persons, 2 people that you may have in mind that inspire you or that help you to be on that path? those I would share. I keep it to myself, the people that I have in my mind. But it helps you to have inspiration of who may I follow, role models, people who talk in a way that you get inspired, or that give you that different viewpoint to be perceived in the right way, to increase your knowledge, to increase the possibilities that you can create in your organization, to embrace equality, to embrace the diversity. Think about them, because they might be your allies in this case. So let's move on to the next one. And when we
Really
embrace
quick,
it,
Annabelle.
yes, yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But I'm sort of been monitoring the chat, so you know,
Oh, yeah.
people can put things in the chat if they didn't want to speak out. But we have a couple people, I think, that are supporting the idea of their spouse, and for me, my son, that they're my sounding blocks. And then we also have a link that Chris Hoffman shared in the chat, and he said that one of the activities that he's doing is reading more about what's going on in DEI and bolstering his own behaviors with this network.
Teria confirmação se teria vagas. Tem vagas atualmente?
And anyways, he shares a
ChatGPT,
link.
please, can you mute? Because yeah, I'm sorry, Alice. I
That's
don't
okay.
have the right to mute.
That's okay. Thank you. And thank you, Chris.
Oh,
I'll try to share anything else that I see in the chat.
no, thank you, Alice. Thank you so much.
I wanted to
And,
share something on the top right quadrant. I think lately what I've been doing, if I'm attending.
Não sei, eu não estava sabendo quando é que eu poderia.
Please see if, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I have just earlier, it's night for me. Earlier in the day, I was also participating in a physical event in my city, and I took a team member along. I was moderating in that session, and she's a young engineer. I took her along with me, and at the end of the day, I realized that it made a lot of difference to her, as she got the opportunity to meet a lot of people and also hear their views. So I try to do the same thing for SWE conferences that I attend in India, just sponsor some of the students I'm interacting with in local universities, or because for students, it's not a lot of money, so it's easy to sponsor them and take them along with the conference. It makes a lot of difference. And I think the exposure and awareness they get from these events really makes a lot of difference. And I feel that we are privileged. We get to attend so many events and meet with so many inspiring people around the world. But yeah, that's how I do it. So every year there's always a few numbers that I take along to events like these.
Thank you, Tuti, for sharing.
And we've put a link to the action card is in the chat as well. You might have to scroll up a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you. That's lovely. So everyone can use it as a reference. And maybe next month, write another couple of thinkings and go month by month. Or if that month you cannot commit with all that you wanted, then you can have it on your mind, or in your desk, or in somewhere that you can see it and figure and visualize what you want and what you want to do for the best. We have 2 more messages on the chat. Okay, thank you, Alice. Yeah. And if you are all okay, let's move on to the next one. And the next is, when we embrace equity, we embrace diversity, and we embrace inclusion. Write one way we can embrace equity in our sphere of influence. one way we can embrace equity in our sphere of influence.
For me, I'm just trying this out, but not settling. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm in situations where maybe past advice to me would be just put up with it and don't say anything. And so, and when you do say something, you know, it might be viewed very negatively, and you could even be punished career-wise. But so I've sort of over the decades sort of learned how to, you know, try to be more tactful, but not settle. So the one person who I can expect to treat me well is myself. So
But
that's
good.
how I try to embrace equity.
Yeah. Also, maybe empathy helps you a lot with equity and to trying to find the right balance for the people depending on their capabilities or their skills. I think that's very important because it embraces the empathy that you may have, may increase the equity that you may apply or that you may think in any of the situations you are during your life or your career. Anyone else? No, in the chat, let's see. Not settling, yeah. That's a good one.
For me, it's also by bringing visibility to the female contributors in my team, making sure that they also get the space they need to be heard, to be listened, and that their contribution is really seen. Otherwise, sometimes also recently I read, and probably you have also read that before, that it's more likely that a woman would apply to a job when we meet 100% of the requirements for that job, but most likely a man will do it when 60 requirements or so are met. And that's actually something that we also see in, I can see in my teams, even in a meeting, unless sometimes women are not completely sure about their contribution, etc. They will not make sufficiently visible the contributions that they are already making.
Thank you, Elena. All commented on the chat. Yes, please, Sven.
For me, it's very interesting to see, because in my experience, or what I experienced today in the morning, is you might or you may not know that, because here in Germany we have the 16 countries or states, and Berlin, the city state of Berlin, decided to have a bank holiday today. So besides everyone, so only Berlin has a bank holiday. And I have a project in Berlin, and by accident, the only female team member is working in another state. So she had to work today, and all the men have a free day. So it's very interesting to see. So for me, therefore, I want to try to get a feedback from myself for the next days, if there is really an impact only having this day. But I think it's more, let's say, iterative and continuous, let's say, improvement. I think the day itself is a spot and reminds us. But I think I want to learn in the next weeks and days how we can improve it and how we can, let's say, make it more sustainable or mature, let's say, that we increase and not working in a specific day on this topic. Let's say, for me, it's more important to have it continuously deployed, and I want to learn this in the next days to receive some feedback and discussion with my family and also with my project team members, let's say. That's important for me.
Thank you, Sven. Thank you so much.
We had another, thank you, Sven. That was a really interesting situation. We have another addition in the chat. Encourage women in the teams to put themselves forward for new roles, and that might help with equity. And you know, when we say this, encourage women in the team to put themselves forward, it can be women encourage women or men encouraging women. It could be anyone, you know, and really encouraging anyone who they know is qualified, you know, and capable of putting themselves forward for new roles. That's really what empowering women is all about, is empowering people to really be leaders that they already are. So I think that can help with equity. So thank you, Paul, for that addition.
Yeah, fully agree. Fully agree, Alice. We have to work on equity. If we work only on one side of the balance, that's not equity at all. Yeah. So if you agree, then move on to the next one. It's really inspiring, this session, let's say, for me at least. I hope for the rest. So a Tribe is our biggest support system. Right, one way you would like to engage with ILSE. How would you like to engage with us? How would you like to engage with Alice, the founder of the she supports us, and all the sector leads. She is our pillar.
Yeah, definitely the sector leads, you know, because I do get requests and things, but I'm not the one doing all the work. We've got a lot of people doing a lot of work to make this you know, to make this vision successful.
Yeah, so how would you like to engage with ILSE? Think about active opportunities, ideas you may have to propose, new ways to provoke dialogue and increasing diversity and the awareness of the need that we have nowadays to have the possibility to embrace diversity in companies. Sometimes people is not allowed to do that. So,
I mean, Marilee and I are working on one thing that we want to do another book, but this time we want it to be men and women writing the book. So we've got to find the right publisher and the right series. But we want to do it on sustainability, and we want to do it on emerging architectures. You know, and so those architectures could be, you know, smart cities, it could be digital, you know, digital transformation architecture. We're working in INCOSE on all different kinds of architectures through all the different working groups, and we would want to have it, chapters written by men and women. So we would want to make sure that both genders are included, but that could be a way to that we can have more engagement in LC. But if people have other ideas, I think we'd love to hear it.
Also we have in EMEA, we want to launch the mentoring idea for the EMEA sector to empower diversity, equity, and inclusion. Also, you may, I don't know, if you want to collaborate with ILSE, please write us, because we would like to help you and help you create your better self, your better version, let's say. Because as much as you improve, as much as you gain knowledge, as much as you grow, I think that's good for the world. So please do not hesitate and contact us if you want, if you need it, or if you want to collaborate. So yes, Sven.
Yeah, for me, it's really important to strengthen this a little bit. So I think we need success stories and we need contribution. but also contribution with the help of obstacles is very positive, let's say, for us. So we can only learn from if we talk about topics and to improve the situation, especially in our engineering world. And so I think coming up with positive examples and experience is one thing, but it's really currently less. So therefore, I'm also interested in to share current obstacles, and that we might sit together here in EMEA or in the EWSLE and DEI activity initiative to really think about what are the real problems. So a kind of systems engineering approach, understand the context. So therefore also contribution, not only providing solution is a benefit, it's also something, to talk about experience and bring up experience on what is currently not working well, where people have or participants have, let's say, some doubts or feel some challenges, let's say, so that we can turn it to opportunities and to work out, let's say, in our vision 2035 and so on, that this is really a benefit and that we can react and answer in the right way.
Yes, thank you, Svenla. As I said, thank you for your support always with EWSLE and with all the initiatives that we have. Yes, so if you agree, let's move on, because we have just, I think we waste 30 minutes for this and only 10 minutes for the networking. But this, from my point of view, I think this thinking is important to understand and to engage. And now, if you want, I will stop sharing, and we can have a networking session just to finalize the event, to end the event, and to prepare us for the next one, because it won't be the only one. If you want to share something, or if you want, I can create, or we can create groups that if you want to talk about, but we are not such a big group like to divide it, so we can create a networking session here. If you want to share.
Maybe we can hear from some people who haven't spoken up yet. Maybe your big takeaway or your general thoughts or your comments.
Yeah. Yes. If you want to give us your ideas that you take away from here today, if you will apply the action card, if you find this useful, or what's your idea? Don't be shy, no worries. I don't know, Ines or Jacqueline, Anissa. I can see Paul.
I see Paul and
yeah, Paul,
unmuted.
there you are. Yeah. We cannot hear you. At least I cannot hear you, Paul. No.
How about, can you hear me now? How's
perfect.
that?
Yeah.
There we go. Right. Sort out the audio settings on Zoom. Yes, so no, thank you. Very interesting session. I think it was very, very useful to kind of see what's been going on, and I think particularly Elena was very interested in what you were saying about how managing to increase the diversity through transformation. I think that's very very interesting to kind of do, and certainly so I am Talas as well, Elena, in the UK, so it's very interesting what you've gone through, and I think there's certainly some really interesting that we can share, and we can share with it, certainly within Talas and within the group and with the wider community, about how to go through some of those transformation processes. So that's really interesting for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Great to know also that you're from Thales.
Paul, thank you for sharing this. Isabel or Jose, Jacqueline, David, if you want to share. Or you can share through the chat and I can read it if you want as well, if you cannot talk or if you're in a situation that you maybe cannot talk right now, but you can listen in, you're listening to the session. So please, you can type on the chat and I can read it for you.
How about we get our Zoom picture before the meeting ends?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, of course. Ready?
What? No, we gotta ask people if they're willing to get
Yes,
on their
can you-
cameras,
yeah,
so
please.
we can do a picture for
Okay.
the INCOSE newsletter.
Yes. Will you take it, Alice, or do you prefer if I
I
took
hope
the
somebody
picture?
else might do it. That I don't
Okay.
want to mess it up.
Okay, I will do it. I will do it. Okay. Okay, smile. Hey, wait, Svenola, then you are. Another one, another shot. Wait. Now, let me check if I got it well. I want to have it here. Perfect. I have it. I captured the picture. I have it here. So I will share it with you, Alice, for the newsletter. Okay. Okay. So if no one has anything else to say, I want to thank you, all of you participants, for being here. Representatives, as Mary-Lee, as Alice, Venola, Maria, and Tweety. She is also here with us as host and giving us a lot of support because she was the main organizer of this event for the 3 sectors. And we thank you so much for that, for all you did for this event, all the time you dedicated, the efforts, preparing everything, setting up all the images, everything. So thank you so much for that. So thank you for that, Tweety. And Elena, thank you as well for being with us as a speaker for this event. And I really enjoy it, and I hope we can have one more next year. And that it will be the first of the next to come, let's say. So thank you so much. Wish you a lovely
Annabelle.
evening or afternoon.
Thank you, Annabelle.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Judy, Elena.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.